and welcome to Media Dialogues with Storyboard 18. I'm Delshad Irani. The global media business is at an inflection point. As artificial intelligence disrupts creative industries and governments step in to define new rules around copyright and regulation, India is emerging as a pivotal voice in that global conversation. In this episode, I speak with Charles Rivkin, Chairman and CEO of the Motion Picture Association, about India's rising influence, the future of copyright in the age of AI, and what it will take to protect and power the next generation of storytelling. Hello and welcome to Storyboard 18 and CNBC TV 18. Charles, it's a pleasure to have you here with me.
I'm honored to be here. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Let me jump straight in. You had a conversation with the Union Minister, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnaw, just recently. What were some of the key takeaways from that conversation for you, Charles?
Well, I think that Minister Vaishnaw is visionary. I think he understands the potential positive impact of AI on society and on culture, and he's also very aware of the pitfalls and doing everything he can to try to avoid those pitfalls. He understands the importance of copyright. He understands my industry extraordinarily well and how we have to protect copyright because it's in many ways the currency of our industry. And he understands that change can be a force for good if managed properly.
There was something from the conversation that you had with the minister that stood out for me, where he said that the global platforms, studios, the OTTs, the streamers must be mindful of cultural context. Your sort of thoughts on what he said there, on keeping in mind the cultural context of different countries when it came to content?
Look, I represent the 7 largest entertainment companies in the world, and we do business overseas. The industry is one of America's greatest exports. We make local programming all over the world, including here in India, where we've made 220 shows with Indian talent since 2022. We get the importance. We do local stories and have a chance to have them go global. Cultural context is essential to everything our 7 studios do, and I understand what he was saying. I also told him that we handle the US ratings. Many countries have government ratings, but we handle them as an independent institution so that we're self-regulating as an industry. And that's been around for 65 years now and has been incredibly successful. Some 92% of Americans think that it helps them as they consider whether to have their child go to a movie. But I will tell you that it's not the same as the rest of the world, but we have 50 different states who often have different cultures in America. And so we understand the challenge of having one rating system for just one country. And clearly, each country needs to do their own rating. So we understand that.
The AI Impact Summit, of course, is billed as one of the largest in the global south, but also the world. Charles, let me ask you this. What do you think it will take for a market and a country like India to really lead the way when it comes to harnessing this technology for key industries for us, right? Media, entertainment. What do you think is needed today for India to be at the forefront of that, and for organizations like yours then to leverage that growth?
Well, I think India already is at the forefront of that. I think India is in the first tier when it comes to AI, and that's thanks to the leadership of Mr. Vaishnaw and Prime Minister Modi. I also can't speak to all that gets into creating the infrastructure and the energy and all the technology that's involved with being a leader in this space. That's not my expertise. But I am the CEO and chairman of the Entertainment Industries Association, the Motion Picture Association. And I can say that the way for India to help and for other nations to help is to understand the things that drive our industry forward and to protect those things. One of them is copyright. Obviously, if companies felt that they could simply take all of our copyrights in order to preserve their own business ambitions, that would be silly, because theft is theft. And at the end of the day, some of our catalogs have taken 100 years to build. And so they need to be protected, or there's no reason for them to invest anymore in product. And he understands that. He understands the challenges of deep fakes, misinformation, disinformation, which can also be quite damaging to our industry. He understands, and he spoke about the fear of of job loss, and he's trying to address it with training and other issues. So I just feel very encouraged by what India is doing to make this a wonderful place to advance AI in our industry.
And future-proof it, of course. But when it comes to copyright infringement, Charles, let me ask you this. Is the tech sector doing enough? We're talking about policy, but what about the platforms? What about the companies that are building all these fast-moving, fast-growing AI tools? Is the tech sector doing enough on copyright infringement?
There was a movement, forgive me for saying so, but in my mind a quite ridiculous movement called delete IP that was taking place in certain parts of the tech sector, which is the essence of innovation. IP is enshrined in the American Constitution. There's no possible reason that we should make it tech versus copyright, or progress or innovation versus copyright. They go hand in hand. Copyright has been protected since the birth of our nation, no matter what the technologies that come in. It can be protected today. They're not either or. The question is, what guardrails do you put in place? What limitations do you use so that we can have a vibrant, innovative, creative industry at the same time as growing our AI platforms?
Elaborate on that. What are some of the guardrails that you think would work going into the future? We don't know what's coming next. Every time we talk about AI, for instance, there's a lot of, it's all hidden. We don't know what will happen. But what do you think the future will look like when it comes to putting in the guardrails?
Well, you're right. It's ever evolving. I know certainly it's difficult in America and probably other parts of the world to legislate technology, especially when technology is progressing as quickly as AI is. And so we have to be vigilant. We want to make sure that it's human-centric, that this technology in our space is driven by human creativity, using AI as a tool, not have it replace humans, because that would destroy our industry, in my opinion. So we have to, those are some of the guardrails. Other guardrails are the importance of IP and copyright. No one can just steal our copyrights in the name of building their own AI systems and platforms. It's our assets. They can't be stolen in the real world or in the digital world. It's not legal, it's not okay, and it would cause investment and interest in our sector to go dramatically down. So those are two of the things. I mentioned deepfakes, misinformation, disinformation. It's not right to have a young person without their knowledge or consent to be put into a digital video that was inappropriate. It's not okay to have actors performing in shows that they didn't agree to, just using their likeness. It's not okay to have, at one point, the music industry was quite disrupted when Drake and the Weeknd, came out with an album that sold 2 million copies, and it was neither Drake nor the Weeknd. So these are things that are very scary and yet can easily be rationalized and controlled.
More regulation as well, is that the answer, Charles? We are moving from light touch to a heavier regulation when it comes to even synthetic media. Do you see that happening more?
It's a balance. I think that it's critical for every nation to advance their AI capabilities, but not at the expense of human capital and in our case, innovation and creativity. So it's a balance. There's no one size fits all.
Recently, I saw this clip, iconic scene from the Titanic movie, where, of course, Jack dies at the end. But in this clip, of course, he survives. And it just got me thinking right there, with everything that we're seeing when it comes to AI and the way it's used, its capabilities, what we can do with AI today, especially when it comes to creating movies, songs, anything. Jack survived in this version of Titanic. Do you think Hollywood is the era of Hollywood gatekeeping over, dying? What's your take on it?
I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's the beginning of a new golden age for Hollywood, because Hollywood has these assets. It has the rights to that Titanic movie and those characters. The other people don't have the right to alter it without our approval. That's the problem. And I think there's a licensing model that would enable my studios to let consumers. Disney recently did a deal with Sora, which is indicative of possible ways forward for the industry, to have a licensed model where people can play with existing IP with the permission of the rights holders. But without that permission, it's just theft. There's no other way to describe it. So that's not okay. People shouldn't confuse, the future of Hollywood with being able to steal our movies and change the ending. They should use this technology to make their own versions of creativity. They should use this technology to do things that no one's ever thought of before. When you said earlier about what's the future of the industry, you're right. No one knows, but it may be immersive technology, maybe immersive entertainment with the technologies as it grows. It may be merging with video games. Anything is possible as long as we keep those guardrails in place and let people have the assets that they have built over time stay with them.
Staying on that thought, right? We have this sort of access to this amazing technology. AI has democratized creation. There's zero barriers now, zero budget constraints. All of that is now nil. How do you then feel about creation, the idea of creating new content, entertainment, and where does then Hollywood and the traditional power centers fit in? Because we're seeing the center of gravity is shifting entirely to the sort of a multipolar entertainment world. It can be India, it can be Korea, it can be Japan, anywhere. How do you feel about this sort of shift in the balance of power from Hollywood to a more sort of global entertainment arena?
I don't agree with your premise. I think that Hollywood will take advantage of this technology as much as anybody else in the world. There's a movie, the director James Mangold did Harrison Ford's most recent Indiana Jones film. And you may have noticed that for the first 30 minutes of that movie, Harrison Ford is 30 years younger, because it was taken 30 years earlier. How did they do that? The director told me they digitally removed Harrison Ford's head, mapped onto his face using AI, the Harrison Ford from 30 years ago, which, by the way, was owned by Disney because the input came from Star Wars and from Indiana Jones, and approved by Harrison Ford. And then it was put back on his body, and he was convincingly 30 years younger. Post-production is extraordinary. Not only the efficiencies, but the impact of AI when properly channeled is transformative. So the best filmmakers in the world, many of whom work with us, will be able to take advantage of this technology as well. I think we're pretty quick to jump to all of a sudden there not being a multipolar world. We have an extraordinary amount of talent in the 7 studios that I represent at the Motion Picture Association.
How do you feel about when it comes to creativity? How do you feel about a market like India? You've of course visited the country several times before in various roles and capacities. Yes. How do you feel that we're placed to harness our traditional creativity, layering it with that technology? Where do you see India leading the way, perhaps?
Well, you're right. I have visited it before. I love India, and I know our industry loves India as well. Just to put numbers to it, we've made 220 shows with Indian talent since 2022, generating about $16.8 billion. From efforts of the industry generates that much money in film, TV, and streaming, and employing about 2.8 million people. So, and that's just beginning. Hollywood would like to do more here and work more here. What we do is we program locally, but we also allow Indian content to be seen around the world through our streaming services, growing Indian culture, growing tourism for India, but also helping us collaborate internationally. So I think there's huge opportunity. And as far as India goes, I think there are some 20 languages spoken in India, and AI will be useful in having translations take place simultaneously with production. It'll make productions more efficient. India has enormous potential and a wonderful future with us.
On a more personal note, Charles, has there been a creative moment emerging out of India, Bollywood, a movie, anything that has struck you when it comes to the potential of this market?
I had a chance to go to a number of Bollywood sets when I was in Mumbai as Assistant Secretary of State, and I saw the incredible efficiency and speed that the producers use here, which I still am astonished by. They're able to make incredible quality for, in some cases, lower budgets than we have in America. But I was also blown away when RRR took over our country by storm, and people are dancing. I was at the Academy Awards, and people were in the aisles dancing to this music. It's just extraordinary.
We do like our music. What kind of content do you generally consume? What's your entertainment diet? Do you sort of gravitate towards the blockbusters, or are you more of a, the intimate stories, the local stories?
What's amazing is how quickly the industry has evolved. When I joined the company, when I became chairman and CEO 8 years ago, there were no streamers as part of it. I brought in Netflix the first year I came, and I brought in Amazon afterwards, because the Motion Picture Association isn't just movies, it's film, television, and streaming. Now I have 7 studios who produce a lot of content, and I want to be up on that content. So when you ask me about my diet, I download a lot of product to my iPad and watch on the airplanes and all of my trips. I want to be current about what we're making. And there's some amazing television right now happening with our studios in the United States and around the world. But as I said earlier, our studios are also showing cultural phenomenon that happen in other countries. Netflix created Squid Game in South Korea, which was meant for local audiences and became a multi-billion-dollar franchise. The French version of Call My Agent went crazy. Lupin in France cross borders, because a good story, well told, has no boundaries. And but back to your question, I can't have favorites because I work for these 7 studios, but I also do keep independent film in my diet, as you say, because some brilliant films are made outside of the studio system.
Absolutely. Just a couple of more questions, Charles. Given your background, you've been you've worked with governments, you've represented governments, you've been a media executive, and now in your current role as well. Tell me, which of these roles perhaps has taught you more about the power of storytelling? Draw on some insights that are perhaps helping you in your current role as well. When we're seeing this absolute explosion of stories, democratization of technology, talent, all of that, we're living through crazy times. What have some of your past roles taught you?
I've been very lucky, and I've had a bit of an eclectic career. I ran an independent television and film company called the Jim Henson Company, the creator of the Muppet franchise, for many years before going into government. I then went from working for a pig and a frog, the 2 main characters of the Muppets, to the President of the United States, and spent 4 years in France as ambassador and then 4 years as assistant secretary. And when I was assistant secretary, to answer your question, I traveled to over 40 countries. And I think a lot of nations around the world are envious of Bollywood and Hollywood because they all want to create their own. Why? When we make a movie in any major city, we inject about $1.3 million a day into the local economy, a major film. And this isn't just paid to the actors and the guys that walk the red carpet. These are construction workers and electricians, and it impacts catering, dry cleaning, the entire community. And they generate jobs, high-paying jobs that don't require a college education. So everybody wants that. And some people are trying hard to get there. But Hollywood and Bollywood were 2 of the first, and they're currently enjoying a wonderful run.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What do you think organizations, people in this ecosystem that you were talking about, what needs to happen now for studios, streamers, companies, talent, employees, creators? What do they need to do to future-proof themselves?
What do you mean by future-proof?
Future-proof, just with an onslaught of technology, people are afraid about their jobs. You were speaking earlier about the fear around jobs, roles becoming obsolete in this new era.
What I was speaking about earlier is that fear is natural when there's change. Mm-hmm. But if you look at history, every single new technology that's ever come along, the Hollywood industry has embraced, taken advantage of, and excelled and grown. So if I said earlier, when the movie business started, they were silent movies. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, they became talking movies. And people said, oh no, what if this silent actor can't talk and his voice is terrible? The industry's over.
I think about Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain. Mm-hmm. Remember what happened in the original Wizard of Oz when all of a sudden it turned to color? That shocked audiences back in the early 30s because no one had color. And the fear was, oh no, only a certain number of studios can produce in color. It'll kill the entire industry. And then years and years later, remember the VHS comes out. Industry's dead. No one's going to go to theaters anymore. Never going to happen. And then the DVD comes out, and now it's perfect quality. So, and then the internet's created, and that was definitely the end of Hollywood. And you know what? None of those were the end of Hollywood. Every single one of those inventions and many more were used by Hollywood as tools, human-driven, human-centric creation, using technology as a tool to advance our trade. And we're going to do the exact same thing here.
Thank you so much for your time, Charles.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Pleasure
Wonderful
chatting
being
with
here.
you.
You too.
Thank you. Before we go, a quick note on something the entire creative and marketing industry is now watching closely. The Storyboard 18 Awards for Creativity, our marquee platform to recognize India's most bold, innovative and culturally defining work, has officially closed entries. What comes next is significant. This year's work will be evaluated by one of the most distinguished juries ever assembled. These awards will honor not just campaigns, but ideas that define the year across storytelling, digital innovation, media strategy, and brand leadership. The winners will set the benchmark for what creative excellence looks like in India today. Stay tuned. The Storyboard 18 Awards for Creativity are coming soon.